dogs, unfortunately, have very, very poor teeth. Many of them needed most of them extracted.
More than 24 sick dogs rescued from a property in Rhea County last month are almost ready for adoption. In early October, the Rhea County Animal Shelter rescued more than 100 dogs after they received a tip. 44 of those animals were eventually split between humane societies in Chattanooga and Nashville to receive treatment.
10 News reporter Gabrielle Hayes gives us an update on some of those animals and explains why some neighbors want the property owner held accountable.
This is Lamb Chop.
We named him for obvious reasons because of how he looks. He was part of the 44 dogs that we helped, pull from Rhea County.
That 44 is part of a larger group of 100 rescued by the Rhea County Animal Shelter after it received an anonymous tip in early October.
He's one of the first ones that came out of his shell. He's very, very outgoing.
Bob Citrullo is the executive director of the Humane Educational Society in Chattanooga. He says his facility now has about 28 of the animals. The rest went to Nashville for treatment.
All of them, more than not, will have some type of medical problem. At a minimum, with skin infections.
The extent of those health issues is what Beth Schulteis says prompted her to ask questions.
I have written and asked everyone I know to also call the sheriff, the DA, the county executive.
She runs an animal rescue in Knoxville and isn't caring for any of the rescues, but says she wants to see someone held accountable. District Attorney General Mike Taylor oversees Rhea County. He says he received a file from the sheriff's office and animal control. His office will review it, then decide whether to move forward with charges. In the meantime, Citrullo hopes more people will continue to look out for these kinds of cases in the future.
So I think people know they exist. I don't think they understand how large of a problem it is around the country.
In Knoxville, Gabrielle Hayes, 10 News.
That caretaker in Chattanooga says nursing the dogs back to health has been a long process. He hopes some will be ready for adoption next week.